In the studios, Gabriela Tete is here speaking on behalf of the NDC. She always walks in with a smile. I mean, even when she's angry, she's still smiling. So you're not sure what to expect from her sometimes. And look at her this morning already. Good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning, Bella. How are you?
I'm good, thank you very much. Everything okay with you?
Very well.
So the economy is not really beating you down
Hey.
like that. You're smiling and say very well, so I'm assuming that, you know, Lerato is making life easy for you.
Right now, it's survival by planning.
By planning, eh?
Strategic planning.
Lerato Musa Saka speaks on behalf of the NPP, and she joins us as well. Gabriela Tete says, you know, the economy is not too great, but she's still doing very well anyway.
Oh, it's obvious
Do you have a hand in
Gabriela
it?
is doing well.
She is?
Obvious. I mean, for her to even be able to contest for a position at this time, and with all that I hear she's doing really
She's
well.
fine,
I'm
eh?
not too sure what we are all going through is really affecting her, but because she's here to speak for the NDC, you know what their motivation is. So, I mean,
You think they are full of mischief?
we are still.
Why do you think they are full of mischief or what?
It's not for me to say.
It's not for you to say.
Yes,
Okay.
Ghanaians know that better than I do.
Anyway, let's head straight into our first topic for conversation today. And as we all expect this morning or later today, the minority in Parliament will be proceeding, you know, with a motion for a vote of censure against the Finance Minister, Honorable Ken Ofori-Atta. And of course, they have made their statement clear. They put out some 7 points indicating why they intend to kick him out of office as finance minister. But as we all know, when it comes to a vote of censure, per what the law says, there has to be 2/3 majority that will vote for this vote of censure before it can actually happen. Let me just read a bit of what the law says. And this is Article 82 of the 92 Constitution. It says that Parliament may, by resolution supported by the vote of not less than 2/3 of all the members of Parliament, pass a vote of censure on a Minister of State. A motion for the resolution referred to in Clause 1 of this article shall not be moved in Parliament unless 7 days' notice has been given of the motion, and the notice for the motion has been signed by not less than 1/3 of all the members of Parliament. And remember that sometime in October, on the 25th of October, the minority had come out indicating that they had been able to get that 1/3, you know, members of Parliament to sign that motion, and so they would go ahead with a vote of censure. The motion shall be debated in Parliament within 14 days after the receipt by the Speaker of the notice for the motion. A Minister of State in respect of whom a vote of censure is debated under Clause 3 of this article is entitled during the debate to be heard in his defense. Has that happened yet? Not yet. Minority is hoping that today the Finance Minister will make an appearance in Parliament during the debate so he can be heard. Now, 5 says where a vote of censure is passed against a minister under this article, the President may, and notes that the President may, unless the minister resigns his office, revoke his appointment as a minister. And finally, for the avoidance of doubts, this article applies to a deputy minister as it applies to a minister of state. And so you remember that some 80 majority MPs had also come out with a press, you know, statement and hearing indicating that they also want the president to sack the finance minister, otherwise they will not do business. Eventually, there were some talks with the president, and the majority leader put out a statement indicating that they would rather wait, per the appeal of the president, for the finance minister to complete negotiations with the IMF and read the budget. And then after that, we'll know what exactly the decision of the president will be. Yesterday, minority leader was here for the political debate, and he indicated, in fact, appealing to the majority members in Parliament to make an appearance in Parliament today for the vote of censure. Let's hear him and what he had to say.
I pray that the majority side does not disappoint Ghanaians tomorrow, disappoint the aspirations of the majority of Ghanaians who voted them to represent them in Parliament tomorrow when the censure motion is moved. I am determined with the minority caucus to get the motion moved tomorrow and probably to bring to conclusion our desire and quest to see the Honorable Minister of Finance, Ken Ofori-Atta, exit office as Minister for Finance. And we are holding him solely responsible for the trash Ghanaian economy.
That's what the minority leader, Honorable Haruna Idrisu, had to say about it, hoping that the majority MPs will be in Parliament. In a very interesting but not so surprising turn of events, a statement was released yesterday, and it had the New Patriotic Party emblem on there, so clearly from the office headquarters, actually, of the NPP, where it said that the New Patriotic Party is asking members of the majority caucus to abstain from vote of censure against the Minister for Finance. Quite a lengthy statement, I must say. But it says that by this directive, the leadership of the majority, and I'm just, lifting a bit of it, by this directive, the leadership of the majority caucus, especially the whips, are to ensure that no member of the majority caucus partakes in this exercise by the minority group in Parliament. Let's move to paragraph 3. While the National Executive Body acknowledges the prevailing socio-economic conditions in the country and the need for urgent remedial interventions, it is our utmost position that the demand of the NDC-led minority caucus is ill-intended and aimed at derailing government's efforts at resolving current socio-economic upheaval. So the leadership acknowledges that the Minister of Finance is the leader of government's negotiation team with the International Monetary Fund. And you can read further down, but basically describing the move by the NDC MPs in Parliament as ill-conceived. Yesterday, the General Secretary of the NPP explained why they had to release this statement. Listen.
That we find ourselves in as a country, whereby this same finance minister is the one leading the IMF negotiation. We are of the belief that we need to pause, reflect on it for us to get to a certain point before certain critical decisions can be taken. The reason why, as a party, we are directing our members of parliament to abstain from the motion of censure being pushed by the NDC is for very good reason. In the motion of censure document, the NDC have stated their reasons for why they want to move for that motion of censure. And as a political party, we disagree with them on the points that they have raised.
Like what?
We may have our own
like
reasons,
what,
or
for instance?
Some members of our party or members of parliament may have their own reason for the removal of the finance minister. But that is not the reason that is being pushed.
Mr. Kodria, what specific reasons in that censure do you disagree with?
We disagree once with their statement of conflict of interest, of corruption, of abuse of office, and all those things that they are talking about.
But Mr. Kodria, this is a clear betrayal of your own position. Indeed, your members in Parliament who came out on that fateful day to threaten that if the finance minister was not removed, they were going to boycott proceedings in Parliament, raised the issue of conflict of interest. In fact, they said that in the past, they had consistently defended Mr. Oforiatta and the then deputy, Mr. What's his name, Portia? The then deputy for Mr. Oforiatta. I'm sure you know. Mr. Dubois. Yeah, Mr. Dubois.
So, of the press statement by our members of Parliament. If you have it, I want you to read it.
I am saying that press conference was broadcast live. They raised the issue of conflict of interest and also talked about the fact that the economy had deteriorated under Mr. Oforiatta. So if you say you're disagreeing with what the minority is saying, I mean, how different is it from what your own people have said?
Well, I still stand by my point. If we have a video of the press statement by members of Parliament, it will tell you the position that was raised. And what I am talking about, I raised issues that was captured in the motion of paper by the NDC, and I've made the point that I really disagree with. Yes, we all understand the situation that we find ourselves in as a country. The economy is not good of shape. If a person made that comment, it's a fair comment. But for us, a political party, there could be other reasons that we are looking at. So if our members of Parliament, like the majority members of Parliament, just as any other Ghanaians are talking about, or
all right, so that is the General Secretary of the NPP, Mr. Frimpong Kodria, speaking there. Also joining us this morning in the studios is Nanaya Chimpim Jantua. She's the General Secretary for the CPP. Good morning.
Hey, good morning,
how are you doing?
Darling. I'm fine.
I'm back. I'm fine. I'm fine, thank you.
I did miss you so much.
I missed you too, but I'm back. Okay. Let's start this conversation, and I'll start off with you, Lerato, and of course the explanation that the General Secretary is given, that when it comes to the agenda of the NDC, it is ill-conceived. In fact, if you read the statement, it says that it's a deliberate attempt to sort of, sabotage the image of the ruling party. And so that is why they are asking their MPs not to represent in Parliament. But these MPs, these 80 MPs who had even come out, said that we came out after consulting with the members in our constituency, and that is why we don't agree with the finance minister staying in office. How then does the party now come out and tell them not to go to parliament to vote when they are there representing their people and not necessarily the party?
So, good morning, Bella, and good morning to our viewers. I mean, when we go through the way the issues have panned out, then we'll know that the party has been consistent with what the issues are. I mean, even before I even go into those details, I mean, minority MPs are totally within their rights. Article 82 mandates that. And it's also fair that the people who endorse the appointments of the president also have a say in whether the person stays or not. And that's stated clearly in our constitution, and that's the article you read, Article 82. But what's the genesis of the issue? 80 members from our side came out with a press conference after they had come from recess that they had. And that's can be debated, because these are members of parliament who, when on recess, spend a lot more time in their constituencies, because, I mean, during the time that parliament is in session, they only have Saturday to Monday till they come to parliament Tuesday to Friday for parliamentary business. So, I mean, it's fair for them to let everyone know what their constituents sent them to say. They came out with that press conference, which was widely covered. We all followed.
Yeah.
On the back of that, there was a meeting between party, and they also had a meeting with His Excellency the President. And after that, they released a statement. But even in the discussion, they were emphatic that the NDC side or the minority side should not count on their support, because that is not the way they want to go. A motion of censure is not the way we want to go. They were emphatic on that, if you follow the discussions that went on. So the meeting was held with His Excellency the President, and a statement was released by the majority side, which is our side, signed by the majority leader. And the majority leader didn't mince words when he said they all share in that opinion, but timing is also of great essence to whatever decision you take.
How so? That is what
forward.
we're trying to understand.
So from the meeting that was held with the president, he made it clear this is the person leading our IMF negotiations, which is at a critical stage. They had come in, were supposed to provide other documentation, or he was leading it as finance minister. There were a lot of stakeholder engagements going on. Around that time, the president was also meeting other major stakeholders, AGI, GUTA, and all that, Traders Association, and all that. So there were a lot of meetings and actions being taken around that time. So a lot was going on with this particular minister in the center of everything. The budget is also to be read this month. So the appeal to them was, let him go through the IMF, let him go read the budget, then we can take it from there.
But he's the same person that didn't think we should go to the IMF, because he said we had the resources, we're a blessed nation, and so we were not going to the IMF. But so really, why is he the one leading the charge? You know, at this point, he can go for someone who probably thought that we should have gone to the IMF to lead the conversation. Why him?
He didn't lead, he didn't appoint himself. He was appointed by His Excellency the President by virtue of what our Constitution stipulates and whatever he does. And he didn't take the decision to go to IMF.
Because he didn't believe in it.
It was the President, but he didn't appoint himself. He works under the supervision of His Excellency the President.
But on the basis of integrity, if you had said, and it was just about, what, 2 weeks or so after he made that statement, that the announcement was made that we're going to the IMF, based on integrity, you don't think that he should have stepped aside and said, I made the statement that we should not go to the IMF. I won't be the same person going to talk to them that we need help at this point because I didn't believe in it?
He didn't believe we could go to the IMF then.
Then?
Right, yes.
He did not give timelines. He just said we will not go to the IMF.
I mean, when comments are made, they are made at a time, they are made in context. If we want to drag it, I mean, we've been in this studios, we've been at workplaces that people had issues with issue, but by virtue of being part of a team and what the team and the team leader believes in, we go along with what will be of the best interest to everybody on the team and the people we seek to serve. He was asked by his boss, His Excellency the President, to go to the IMF. And this is the same, when the MPs came out with that position, they didn't meet the finance minister. They met His Excellency the President. And that was the decision that was arrived at. Give him time to go through this. And they agreed.
And no one else can start this conversation or lead the conversation. No one can read the budget. When he was unwell and out of the country during COVID, the majority leader, of course, as per the Constitution, was the one that read the budget.
Bella, when you were on leave,
if they want him out, they can take him out. Other people are there to do their job. Are they not?
When you're on leave, someone sat in for you, right?
If I'm not here, someone will still do the job.
You said when he was unwell and out of the country, the majority leader read the budget. He's well and in the country.
But people don't want him in power.
Yes, people don't want him in power. And that was the meeting that was held. We are having this discussion because the party has come out with a position which people think is inconsistent. That's why we are going through all these things. That is the position we've held. We don't think the NDC minority group is coming from a good place.
How so?
We don't think that whatever they want done is not in the best interest of the nation.
So?
Because most of the things they've even been talking about are things that have been debunked over the weeks.
Like
and they are
what?
still going on. The transfer of monies from consolidated funds. And I have to go back. One of the deputy ministers of finance, Mr. John Kuma, has debunked most of those assertions and all that. We've
conflict of interest, where his company is receiving 1% of the monies that we receive as loans into the country.
We've had this debate.
That has not been debunked.
We've had this debate over and over again. He stepped down from. We can have that moral argument. We all have ways of taking decisions based on these things, but legally, and by the way our statutes work, has he breached any law? We can have that moral argument. I can't. I don't think he has, and I don't think anybody can point to any law that is a moral argument. That is this the first time Data Bank is doing work? Is this the first time Data Bank is doing any work?
But he's the finance minister.
Yes, he's the finance minister.
His company cannot be benefiting from deals when he is the finance minister.
See, when you even put it from deals, yeah, we've had this come up over and over again. And that's what I say. We live in a society where morals play a key role, but morals don't inform the decisions that we take. Else there are certain decisions that won't be seen. There are certain actions that won't be seen. This is the finance minister who says, I've stepped back from the bank. I have nothing to do with the bank. You've come out. There are a number of people who have shares and all that. They even had calls to release the share, how do you put it? The amount of shares people owe in that business. Data Bank has been doing business with all that. Probably I won't go ahead and do that, but we all take decisions based on what the decisions are. What is the issue in point now? Minority wants to go with a vote of censure, right? We are not supporting it as a party and as a government. And same call has been made to our members of parliament.
Even though he has grossly mismanaged the economy, look at the city. It's on a free fall.
No doubt
about that.
And I don't think when the members of parliament had a meeting with His Excellency the President, he had any difficulty. All he did was plead with them to give him time so the finance minister can go through the negotiations and all that. Like you said, if he's not there, work will go on. But he's there. And His Excellency the President, being the person that we've all mandated he was duly voted for. We've mandated him to lead this country. He selected his team,
Okay.
and by virtue of how our constitution is crafted and who appoints who and make sure who goes, he says, please give me time, let him go through the negotiation, let him read the budget, then we can get to the bottom of this.
Gabriella, the MPP says they don't agree with those 7 pointers that you put out as reasons why the minority in Parliament should go ahead with a vote of censure. What do you say?
Let me start with a good morning to our viewers and a special good morning to all the delegates of the Central Region. Bella, I'd be very grateful if you allow me to go through the 7 points that the NDC has raised again. 1, despicable conflict of interest. 2, unconstitutional withdrawals from the consolidated fund. 3, illegal payment of oil revenues into offshore accounts. 4, deliberate and dishonest misinterpretation of economic data. 5, fiscal recklessness leading to the crash of the Ghana cedi. 6, alarming incompetence and frightening ineptitude resulting in the collapse of the economy. 7, gross mismanagement of the Ghanaian economy. The majority members who held the press conference asking for the sack of Finance Minister Oforiatta have access to more financial and economic data than the NPP political party. The NPP political party, as a political party, uses deception as a strategy.
How so?
And they are very good at it. These 80 MPs took to the podium and announced the exit of Mr. Ken Oforiatta after they heard that the minority was pushing for a motion on, what's it called?
Vote of censure.
Vote of censure on the finance minister. So they quickly, hurriedly organized this press conference to try and take the wind out of the sail of the NDC. Unfortunately for them, when they were called to Pediase to meet with the president on their quickly arranged press conference, they had the shock of their lives when the president informed them that Mr. Ken Oforiatta had invested heavily in his campaign, and as such, was the best beneficiary of the finance minister job until Nikanimie. That's it.
Did he say so until
but that's the translation of what happened as Pediase.
That's your deduction from it. But it doesn't necessarily mean that that's what they meant.
That is the entire summary of it. So Mr. Ken Oforiatta was still allowed to sit there for God knows how many more weeks. According to them, we should wait till the finance ministry completes the deal with the IMF. The person who doesn't believe in the IMF should be allowed to complete the deal with the IMF for somebody to come and implement the IMF
in his
program.
capacity as the finance minister.
I thought the deception is their strategy. You see how the thing is weaving out. Now, the political party NPP today is telling us that their members in parliament should abstain from this vote of censure. If you want Ken Oforiatta out, I want Ken Oforiatta out. Don't we both want the same thing? Doesn't matter which option we take. Today that you want him out, amongst the two options, mine is now on the table. It's the best alternative so far. Because yours, apart from doing the press conference, we still don't know what your strategy to get him out is.
Well, they want the president to be the one to send him out.
But at least we know they are parliamentarians. There's an option for them. It's not just a question of the president. And if the president was going to send him out, he would not have met them in Pedro to tell them that the man has invested heavily in his campaign. The president does not want him out. If those 80 MPs want the man out, this is the best time for them to prove it by joining the minority group. Look, politics should be about principles. If it is A, it is A. And if it is B, it is B. Unless, as I've mentioned already, the strategy is deception. Today, all those 80 MPs, and I have very good friends amongst them, I don't want to mention anybody's name, their integrity as politicians will be tested today by the people of Ghana. Because everybody will be watching their TV set to see what happens in Parliament. Whether they are going to listen to their constituents who they said informed the decision they are taking, or the political party called the MPP.
But they have said that, yes, we do not want the finance minister in office, but we don't agree to a vote of censure.
We want to kill a chicken. At the end of the day, the chicken must die.
Yeah, but they don't agree with how the chicken will be killed. They are saying that let's do it another way. We want the president to take him out of office. We don't agree with a vote of censure. And so if they don't show up in parliament, how is their integrity at stake?
What do they agree with? What do they agree with? They had their press conference telling the president, the man must go. One simple thing, fire him, he must leave finance ministry. You've had an opportunity to meet the president. He has told you the man is not going.
He didn't say the man is not going. He said give the man the chance to complete the IMF negotiations and read the budget. And then from that point, we'll know what to do.
You don't know MPP. That is the strategy of the MPP, to buy themselves more time. Since they said that the man should be given 3 weeks, have you seen what he's been doing at finance? All of a sudden, all the statutory funds that were in arrears are being paid, including the MP's common fund and the District Assembly common fund.
Is that not a good thing?
If you've kept these statutory funds in arrears for 3 quarters, and then just when you saw that your job was on the line, mysteriously, you found the money to pay all 3 quarters at once. Amazing. The strategy of the leadership of the MPP, not the political party, the government, is to ensure that Ken Ofori-Atta stays where he is. The political party MPP is only being used as a puppet to ensure that that thing manifests. The majority who had their press conference today have to prove to the Ghanaians, all 80 of them, have to prove to Ghanaians that they are truly men and women of their word, that if they really want Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta out, this is the opportunity for them to get him out, by the principles.
And if they don't show?
If they don't show, it's the Ghanaians who will judge them, including myself. I'll come back and sit here and tell all of you that I told you people, deception is their strategy.
But they say that your motives are ill-conceived as well.
What is ill-conceived about this? If it was ill-conceived, why then did the majority MPs, the 80 MPs, also mention these issues as concerning them, as of concern to they and their constituents? There's nothing ill-conceived about the motive. Today, look, inflation is at 40.4%. Our cedi is now trading at 14 cedis to $1 from 6.5 beginning of the year. It is times 2. Today, debt to GDP is over 80%. Today, I heard DAPCO beneficiaries are still looking for their money.
Yeah, they have not been paid.
Viewers, you don't know this, but the guy who remember me advert is sitting outside. I think they are going to interview him. He's come to tell you how disappointed he is in the government that he went to do adverts for. So, the whole economy is in difficulty. Do you need anybody to tell you that there's a problem within the economy? And as chairman of the Economic Policy Coordinating Committee, which is the finance minister, he has failed. He has failed. We can't massage it. We can't do anything about it. The fact is that he has failed. His party people know he has failed. It's only the president who insists that he must still be kept there to torment us and keep our economy still going downwards. End of the day, the principle is majority members in parliament, the 80 of you who said the man must go, today is the day that your integrity as politicians will be in question. Whether you listen to your political party, whip you on an agenda, or you stand as men and women of principle and demand that Ken Ofori-Atta must go.
Even if the majority MPs come to Parliament and the vote of censure is passed, when you look at Article 82 of the Constitution, let's go to point 5. It says that where a vote of censure is passed against a minister, under the article, the president may, unless the minister resigns his office, revoke his appointment as a minister. So even the Constitution does not necessarily say that the president must or shall. So it could be passed, yes, but it's still at the discretion of the president, who can decide whether or not he wants him to go.
At the end of the day, the minority has done their part. They have done their part.
So even if there's a vote of censure and the president does not...
If the president still insists that the man must be there and our economy is heading down south, it's on Akufo-Addo's head. 2 years out of his government, he's already begging military people like people to believe in the constitution. Massa, hungry people don't know constitution. People who are starving don't know constitution. They don't eat constitution. They eat food. So if today, have you seen the traffic on your roads? In the mornings, it's like driving around on a Sunday. Where are all the vehicles? The occupants of those vehicles can no longer afford the fuel at 106 Ghana cedis to a gallon. Cost of living is killing them quietly. So the anger movement building in this nation, right now where it's reached there, it is at peak. No security apparatus in this country can contain what will come. So whether Akufo-Addo likes it or not, he must get a grip on the economy. The city, where you are going to find the dollars to feed that city and stabilize it and have people now offload their dollars back into the economy so we can see some depreciating from the dollar side, some appreciation from the city side. My dear, Ken Ofori-Atta must go.
Will his sacking change the situation we're in at the moment?
If you have somebody who over a period of 9 months, 10 months, has consistently been incompetent at saving a declining economy, why should the person be there? Is it that in this country, we do not have any single individual who can fix this problem, which I very much doubt, because this country is blessed with human resource in finance, and especially public finance. Ken Ofori-Atta's strength is investment banking, not public finance. The man knows how to go and borrow and do stocks and bonds. That is where his expertise ends. And somebody ought to tell he and Akufo-Addo that where we are is not investors and stocks and bonds we are interested in, because you can't even access any bond market. Where we are, it's the job of development economists. If you don't have the men in your government, then obviously the people of Ghana, next time we have the men, know that this is the result of we have the men. There are no men, which I doubt, because I've seen, what's his name? Dr. Ken Asibe, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not that bad. I've seen others. But there's something
Asibe, what you mean?
Yeah, but there's something also that I'm curious about
He's the
with this majority press conference.
Yeah.
When they asked Ken Ofori-Atta and the Black Star guy to resign, why did they leave the two deputies behind? Is it because they are MPs? I've been thinking about it, sir. I'm not finding an answer.
So you would have preferred that they would all be added?
Clear all of them.
Well, the minister,
and then bring new people.
The Minister of State in charge of finance name also came up.
He's a Black Star guy.
Yeah.
Edu Buahin. Yes. So, but why did they limit to the first two? There are two others.
Okay.
Who are MPs? Why were they protecting the MPs? Deception. The NPP and deception.
The NPP and not the NDC. But the NDC is also not asking for those other two deputies to go. They are asking for the minister to go.
They are
so if it's deception, then it should cut across.
No. Don't simplify it like that. We are interested in Ofori-Atta.
Okay.
The head.
Exactly.
The majority did their press conference and said they wanted the two. And I'm asking the majority who did the press conference, why did you limit it to the two and not add the other two?
So for you, the NDC, you don't think that the others should go, just the finance minister?
He's the
problem. Nanaya, I mean, what do you say to all of this? I mean, the party leadership of the NPP says that when it was the turn of the NDC and they were calling for the head of the then finance minister, Setekwe, they all rallied behind him and gave him the support. Why do they expect that when the tables have turned, the majority MPs would rather side with them and not rally behind their own finance minister?
How? Bella, good morning. Good morning to your viewers and good morning to my comrades in the CPP and good morning to my dear sisters. Bella, for me, from the very beginning, I had questions about the 80 MPs. I didn't have anybody agreeing with me, by the way the thing went, I saw it as some orchestrated plan to cover up something.
Why would they do that?
It wasn't real. MPP never stands against MPP.
Maybe they've had it.
No, but
they've had it at this point.
No, but my dear, the events that have, you see, for instance, I said that if I am against you, I have an issue with you, and I say you have to go to this direction, then the next moment I'm called to meet a higher person, and I'm there. Certainly, once you get there, the dynamics will change. I said that if they truly meant what the action they had taken. There was no need for them to go and see the president.
But he's their boss.
No,
if he summons you to a meeting, can you say you will not attend?
No, because the president is not their boss. Because in Ghana, we have the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. They are on their own. Their boss is the speaker.
But they belong to a party.
They belong to a party, but in that case, the president is the executive. And they have constituents. And when they came to speak to us, they said when they went on break, their constituents are not happy with the way Ken Ofori-Atta is managing the economy. So in this case, there's a clear dichotomy of powers. They derive their powers from their constituents. And these people who voted for them to put them in parliament to represent them are saying that they are unhappy. Because, Bella, you see, where we have gotten now, we need somebody who is innovative. We are in a distressed situation. The country is in distress. And when you are in distress, if you want to shift from the status quo, there should be a complete paradigm shift so that we get into an arena where things will be sorted out. This backwards and forwards is not helping anybody. I do not believe that the 80 MPs really meant what they did.
Why would they put their face forward then if they didn't really mean?
But if they, my dear, look at what is happening now. A letter coming from the party to them, that do they answer to the party in this sense?
They're on the ticket of the party.
The premise upon which they did whatever they did was their constituents. They are there on the ticket of the party, but it is their constituents who put them there. Who will vote for you to become a member of parliament? Is it not your constituents? Your constituents are supposed to do that. So if I go to my constituency during the break and I'm told that ABC, and it became consensual, it was as if all of them went there and this happened. And the leader, the spokesperson, you have friends, I have cousins in there. Do you get me? But I'll say it as it is. The spokesperson came and said it bluntly. That this is what? Our constituents. And once you say your constituent, that is where you derive your power. Because even the Constitution of Ghana tells us that the power within the government is derived from the people. The sovereignty of this nation lies with the people. So the power behind the MPs is from the people, their constituents. So you come and tell us this. Of course, Laratu told us that, I mean, we cannot use morality as a basis for taking any decision. Is here. I wrote it down. So they don't have the morals. I mean, if this is what she is saying, representing the MPP, and she's saying that morality does not matter, then it means really those 80 people don't have the morals. Because they came out and they said that this is it. This is what we want to do. We expect the president to do A, B, C, D. My submission here is that I do not even think that it should be only Ken Ofori-Atta. I always say that the economic management team, they have failed us.
Including the vice president.
Everybody, they are not fit for purpose. That has to be reiterated. They are not fit for purpose. The purpose for which they have been conglomerated and put together and formed, they are not doing what they are supposed to do.
So they should all go?
Everybody should go. They should clear all of them. Because unless they are telling us that Ken does not allow them to work or Ken doesn't listen to them. But if truly they are there to make sure that our economy runs, then it means that they are not fit for purpose and they should leave. Do you get me? It's not only Ken. If Ken leaves and we still have that group, whoever is going to be the finance minister is going to work with that team. How do we know that they haven't failed Ken? Let's look at it clearly. There is a team that has to manage the economy. Look, some of the things that go on in this country is so nauseating. It is so unacceptable.
Like what?
My dear, I was on the Osu Oxford Street. I saw a man who looked foreign, like a Nigerian, tapping his fingers at me, doing this. And I was like, what's up? I said, why is this man tapping his fingers at me? Then somebody said, they are the black market players. I said, wow. So I got interested and I moved and I said, what do you do? He said, oh, do change. He was actually negotiating with me on how much $1 I should buy $1 for.
But ideally, they shouldn't be on the streets. Per the statement that was released.
That
by
is
the
what
Bank of
I am
Ghana.
coming to. It means that there is a total breakdown of regulatory practices. How could we find black market operators on our street openly selling dollars?
But they've been there for
That
years.
is what but they've been
And
there
we're
for...
told that even people at the top sometimes, and this is an allegation, by the way, they also patronize them.
But you see, Bella, there are times that some form of illegality goes on, but it is not so blatant. It is not so open. That is why it is described as black. It is not open. It is hidden. But today, it is not like that. And we are just sitting down for these people to tell us how much we buy $1 for. And our cedi is depreciating. It is weak. It is hollow. It has become, something that you cannot even use. You said Ken Oforiatta said he didn't believe in IMF. Yes, he didn't believe in it. But it was still words, rhetoric. The same way that the MPP does their things. Rhetoric. Because at the time he made those statements, the economy was down. But he still made those statements. It's like all statements that they make, there is no matter to it, there is no form.
Even the recent one where he says he's gone through pains and aches, and we shouldn't think that they're not doing anything about the situation because they're actually working.
No, but you see, when somebody is working and doing something, Bella, we need to see the impact. It should show. It is not words. The impact. Aches and pains, then he needs a masseur or a masseuse to massage him. That one is not our business. Our business is to see that the dollar is depreciating against the cedi. That today, when I wake up and they say that it is back to 6.5 or 5 cedi, then I know you are doing something. That today, fuel will come to maybe 23 cedis a gallon, then I know you are doing something. Then it is there. It shows. The figures will tell us. But not doing something by just words. We don't need words anymore. Does he know the aches and pains that Ghanaians have gone through? Buying fuel, buying food at very expensive, high prices, the cost of living becoming so high, standard of living depreciating, has depreciated to nothing. Does he know the aches and pains that Ghanaians are going through, that when you have your savings, it is shaved? The president said no haircut, no shaving. Yes, we agree. It might not be an economic policy that would go with debt restriction. But automatically, by the event of how the cedi has depreciated, there has been shaving. There has been haircuts. Because if you had 5,000 Ghana cedis in the bank in January, today it is about 1,000 Ghana. That is shaving automatically. And if he has aches and pains, how much aches and pains would you have if your savings are shaved? If your capital is shaved, it is inconsequential. He cannot do whatever he wanted to do in January, or he could do in January. He cannot do it today. He cannot buy water as he could buy in January. The small sachet is 50 pesos.
Yeah.
It used to be 2 pesos.
20
yes,
pesos.
20 pesos.
It used to be 10 pesos.
10 pesos. Today it is 50 pesos. Tomorrow next it will be 1 cedi. The jar is now 19 cedis. Some sell it at 20 cedis. It used to be 11 cedis. Water 3 cedis. Everything is up. And he is talking about his aches and pains. It is his responsibility to ensure that this economy run good by us. It is his responsibility to ensure that we are in good times. If there is a censure, that one is from the party, the opposition. I don't even know why they call themselves opposition.
What are they?
They are equal. What is opposition in there?
But they are not in power, ideally.
Opposition in parliament is there. I've told you there's a separation of powers in this country. There's executive. They call themselves minorities.
They are the minority group because we have the majority group.
Which is the majority?
The 137 MPP MPs plus the independent candidates. The MP for
no, but the independent
who has chosen to do business with the
independent candidate is independent. He
yes,
was voted
but he's chosen to do business
He cannot
with the
choose.
majority.
He has to go and get a letter from his people. He cannot choose in parliament that he wants to do business.
No.
Because he was voted for by constituents. Have they told him that he should stand with them?
No, but when he gets in there, you have to choose where to belong. And he says, I have chosen to do work with the NPP.
I am saying that you cannot, you have to go to your people. So you should tell us whether his people want him to be there. Wasn't he the same person that they insulted that they don't want? That they even sacked or something like that? So where is the majority? So the point is that today they are going to do censure. That is what they think is right by them. But I think that there are times when you are under this kind of pressure, morality demands that you might even resign.
Exactly.
Morality, if you have it. And Larry is telling us that they don't have it. So morality...
How is she telling us that?
I've written it here. He said morality does not dictate the decision that we take.
That's context is a bit unfair.
You said morality does not dictate the decisions that we take. These are words I've picked.
Does it dictate the decisions we take as a nation when it comes to our statutes and all that?
So you see, the point is that
I'll let you come in and respond.
It's not out of context. We are talking about a situation in terms of what? Conflict of interest, the finance minister's company taking 1%, whatever, for transaction fees. And he said that is a moral issue. It's not a moral issue. This one is a serious issue because you are the one who is going to negotiate the loan. Then your company is the one who is going to be the transaction advisor. If something happens, if there is some problem, the fact that he's out of the company doesn't mean that the company does not belong to him. Bella, if you have a house now and you don't live in it, and you give it out, is it still not your house? It's still your house.
So he should have stepped down?
He should have, yeah, I mean, you don't even, because you see, this data bank or whatever it is, they have done a lot of work even when they were in opposition. Their enterprise, they have done a lot of work. So what is wrong if you don't do this one? And you give it to another company, to broker? What is wrong? Because you see, if you have morals and all these noises are going on, sometimes to relieve the president of the pressure, you can even say that's enough. Because you see, if the president is telling us that the man has to go through the process of negotiating the deal before he is taken off, please, after he has negotiated the deal, the imperfections, the ramifications, the situations, whatever surrounding the deal, who has to implement it? Who has to implement it?
That's even if the president will kick him out of office after the deal
I am
is done.
saying that even if he kicks him out, how do you, I mean, I don't want to use the word common sense, but who has to implement it? You have gone to do the deal. You have agreed on certain things. You have agreed on pointers, whatever you want to do, how you are going to restructure your debt, how you are going to do A, B, C, D. Then when you can, I say, Bella, take, implement. How? Because you see, any economist or any finance person who is good, like a Sibe Yeboah or any one of them, can take over from him. And I mean, IMF deal, I think with IMF deal, I don't know, I'm not a finance person, but I believe the structures are there, the steps that you have to take. So you just go through the steps. Sometimes they will vary it a little bit for you. If I'm wrong, somebody should correct me. Maybe they will vary it for you through maybe some of the negotiations you do, like I'll keep this, I'll keep that, I'll do this, I'll do that. If they think it's within their framework, maybe they will allow it. I don't know. That is how negotiations go. I don't know. But I am saying that if somebody has to continue, there are steps. It is there. You have to go from A, B, C to D till you finish. Why can't somebody else do it if the president really wants to get the man off? And sometimes, as I'm saying, morality.
Okay.
Just let's go. He can resign.
Yes, Bella.
Why is he not resigning? I mean, if you look at the case of Liz Truss and the fact that, you know, Suella Braverman resigned.
Case of what?
Liz Truss,
Liz Truss.
former UK Prime Minister.
Yes.
Now, it's like they hound you so much that you have no choice because you have to admit that, well, I haven't done a good job. And so let me step aside and allow someone else to do the job. We saw that in the case of Boris Johnson, who didn't even want to go. But eventually, when there were a number of resignations under him, he didn't have a choice than to go. Why is the finance minister still holding on to power when clearly his side, the opposition, Ghanaians are saying that we're not happy with your work? Step aside and allow someone who understands the terrain to do the job. I mean, he shouldn't even be waiting for this vote of censure, you know, to take place in the first place.
Should even the vote of censure take place? I mean, when Nana was speaking, and I want to go back to what Gabriela said. Gabriela accused us of this, the MPP and government of deception. But at the end of the day, she still came back and made us know that she's actually the one deceiving us.
How so?
How? Not all.
How so?
In one breath, we are asking for he claims we are asking for the same thing as a majority group and a minority group. But she ended by saying she doesn't understand why the MPP is not extending that. Does that make it same? So if that is not deception, I can understand where Nanaya is coming from. We find ourselves in a very difficult situation. Things are difficult. Buying fuel and all that. But I think it's a bit unfair. I mean, we all want to see rapid change. We all want to see things go. We all want to be able to buy fuel cheaper than it is. We all need to see certain things growing. But for her to say she can't see anything happening, I think that's also a bit unfair.
The fact that you're also giving out different figures as to how much is spent at one point and how much is spent later.
Yes,
and we'll get into that.
Figures from
I'll come to it, and we'll talk about figures that the finance minister put out in the media budget review for 2021 and 2022. Hold on, we'll come back to it. This is a big issue. We'll be back to have a conversation on that. Keep watching. Back, it's still the big issue on TV3Newday. Lerato Musa Saka speaks on behalf of the NPP, and Nanaya Chimpim Janto as the General Secretary of the CPP. Gabriela Teta is here on behalf of the NDC as well. And we're just talking about, you know, some statements, and I said I was going to read that to you. Now, as part of the 7 pointers that were put out, one of them said that deliberate and dishonest misreporting of economic data to Parliament. Now, when you look at some details, and this question I've been wanting to ask for a while, because the Finance Minister, in putting out how much we had even invested in free SHS. If you look at the mid-year budget review for 2021, he said that we had invested over the 5 years a total amount of 7.62 billion Ghana cedis. He said that had been allocated to them to implement the free SHS. Go into the 2022 budget, and he says that, let me emphasize that over the last 5 years, we have been prudent in the usage of our tax revenues. And he says that we have used 5.3 billion. In fact, 5.3 billion has been spent on free SHS.
Give me the first figure.
Okay, let me go back to 2021. He says that over the last 5 years, a total amount of 7.2 billion Ghana cedis has been allocated to implement the free SHS. Out of this, about 4.8 billion was sourced from government of Ghana, representing 54.76%, while the balance of 3.44 billion, representing 45.24%, came from the ABFA. So how is he putting out some of these different statistics, and yet when we ask these questions, we don't seem to get an explanation about it?
If I heard you clearly, I don't know what you're reading, but if I heard you clearly, there's, you said allocation and usage. Those were the two words you used. There's a difference between allocation and what you use. Sometimes you can use below what is allocated you, depending on what your operations are. And sometimes you can use above what your allocations are, depending on the situation. So you can budget, and that's what the budget do. The budget goes with estimated figures, but implementation figures may vary, depending on what goes in and what goes in or what is taken out. So when you're using allocation and usage, I don't think it's a good comparison, because once the Finance Minister reads the budget, it goes to the committees, they go through the figures and all that, they meet the entities involved before it comes for appropriation, then implementation starts. So whatever you take. But there are times where you go for media review and ask for additional funding and all that. So usually what is allocated may not necessarily be same as what is used. But we might have to interrogate this further. So before going on, I was saying that I can understand where Nanaya is coming from. I mean, we find ourselves in a very difficult moment. I mean, we are all facing it. We are all buying fuel from the same pumps. We are buying same items, not necessarily from the same shop. Because this morning, someone sent me an item. One shop was selling it for 160 something cedis. Another shop was selling it for 240 something cedis. So sometimes where you shop also adds up to it. But be it as it may, what we are discussing exactly is the minorities, the motion that they've put out for the censure of the minister. I mean, for them to use some of the words they've used in their I think it's been on a parliamentary language. But what basically we are saying is we don't agree with it. Fundamentally, with what Gabriela said and with what you read out, especially with that article on the from Article 80, that portion that says the president may be. It's just like we wanting the finance minister going through the door and they wanting him being thrown out of the window. I mean, the thing is, we don't agree with what they are saying. We don't think they are coming from a good place. We are in difficult times, no doubt about it.
That means that your ATMPs were not coming from a good place as well.
Again.
That means those ATMPs were not coming from a good place.
If the MPs were not looking for the best way out, I don't think they would have had the meeting with the president and come out with that thing. The president explained what the situation, whatever speculation Gabriela wants to put to it, whatever she heard, a statement was released, and that statement is on record. A meeting was held. After all those consultations were done, His Excellency the President came out and addressed the nation, admitted to it, came out with a 12-point thing. I mean, just this morning I heard COPEC announcing of reduction in fuel in the next window. I hope it comes to pass. Gradually, measures in place should give us the results we want to, because it doesn't affect only a group of Ghanaians. It affects all of us.
We're buying fuel at 6 cedis as of December last year. And so if COPEC is even announcing that there's going to be a reduction, by how much? Because right now diesel is 23 cedis.
20%.
That's what I'm saying. Gradually, the measures that are being put in place will give us the results that we are all looking for, a rapid change in this. But what really determines our moving forward is the budget.
And only Ken must read the budget.
Again. Nobody has said only Ken must read the budget. And I don't think that is what the statement and that is what the president's meeting sought to communicate. He's assigned him to do certain things. He's the leader of government. He's the president of the nation. He's assigned his appointee to do something. What he said was, I want him to do A, B, C, D. Kindly let him do it, then we can take the measures. Nobody has said it's only Ken who can read the budget or it's only Ken who can do it. But at this point in time, the person who mandated to do it, and the same person that the NDC is actually calling incompetent. I don't think the economy started on this note. This was someone who grew this economy to an average of 7%, brought balance of payments and surpluses to good levels. Even as we sit now, if I say now, Nanaya will tell me the figures don't make a difference, but those figures also make a difference. In the first quarter of 2021, the economy grew.
But did it grow because of policies that were implemented by the finance ministry at that time, or because of the benefits we got from going to the IMF?
That's the question. We are still engaging the IMF.
No, you're talking about the economy growing.
Yes.
As at 2017, 2018, 2019. Now, the argument has been that, hold on. Yes. The argument has been that the only reason our economy became stabilized and started growing was because of the policies that were implemented because we were with the IMF. So not necessarily because policies, not because of policies. That was fiscal discipline under the IMF,
So,
which is why the economy started bouncing back.
If the finance minister who inherited the IMF program and got us out of it wasn't competent.
We extended it for a year.
Yes, whichever way, but we exited. We are not still with them. We are now having a new. We are now negotiating for again chaos. That you see, and when we mention,
hold on, Nanaya, please. Lerato, carry on.
Nanaya,
carry on, Lerato. We don't have much time.
I can do worse than this. COVID I mean, the NDC themselves on domestic platforms will not agree, but on international platforms, they agree. All that is going around the world. It's the external shocks. We may have our own domestic issues that we are dealing with, but majority of them are external. We can never rule out the effects that...
We're still going back to COVID.
COVID came with a lot of...
back to COVID.
No, what I'm saying is that we cannot rule out the impact or the issues that COVID brought. We cannot rule out the fact that the war in Russia has come, but we also have our domestic issues that we need to deal. And some of the ways of dealing with it was cutting discretionary spending and all those other measures that were.
How has that
place.
benefited us as a country?
When the Minister of Finance reads the budget, I'm sure all these things will be laid to bear. Now, what is on the table is the negotiation with the IMF and the budget that's in the offing. The budget will give us a clear path and the moving forward going on to 2023. And I think we should tone down on the speculation and talking about things today.
What speculation exactly? What speculation are we supposed to tone down on? What speculation?
The fact that there are some deals that someone has to finish. That is why he's still being kept on the job. A job has to be done.
What deals? But that's from the president. He says that allow the man to complete the IMF negotiations, read the budget, then we'll take a decision.
Yes, but you are sitting
How is that a speculation?
Gabriela spew out all those things that she did.
What things
and all
exactly?
That. I can't recall them.
No, Lerato, you're making an accusation here. No,
she
so
said
you should be playing in your accusations. Let us know exactly what you're talking about.
I don't want to be repeating them because
like what? What speculation did she put out?
People to Bella, the issue we are discussing this morning is the censure of the minister.
You have made a claim about speculation. What speculation?
Come again.
What speculation?
What did Gabriela say? She even
about what?
Wait, she went ahead and said she has friends within the 80 members in the MPP. She has members in there. They've said things that go outside what the statement that we've put out said. She made those.
But they came out and even said it that they don't agree with the finance minister staying in charge. What they said is that it's either the president sends the finance minister out, or we will not continue to do business in Parliament.
But I said it that the majority leader himself, in principle, didn't disagree with what the press conference was.
What I want to understand is the term speculation that you used.
Come again.
And how that is even playing out. You're saying that we should not give room to speculation.
You remember when she said, "Until he can read, so he can go." Is that are those facts?
No, but that one I did point out to her that that's her deduction. But that's not what was taken from the statement.
Isn't she?
But you also made a statement about speculation, saying that it's because we want someone to finish what he's doing and finish his deal. And I said that one, the president made it. But you said you described that as a speculation.
I didn't describe that as speculation.
This was just a few seconds ago.
No, I didn't. I said Gabriela said a lot of things. We should tone down on those things that go outside what the facts are.
Okay.
I didn't describe that as speculation.
Okay.
Those are facts. Those were in the statements.
Okay.
After it was the statement that the majority group, and that's on record.
No worries. Let's listen to the finance minister at this point and him talking about the fact that he's going through some aches and pains trying to fix the problems that we're facing as a country. Take a look.
Just to assure you that you have a finance minister who has gone through all the pains and aches, and nobody can really come and say you don't understand what we are doing. The question is, what resources do we have and how are we going to deploy them in the nation that we have? And how do you stand firm in very difficult circumstances, but being very confident that the nation is purposed for greatness, and you are blessed to have the opportunity to lead where we are going. So thanks, Mr. President, for the encouragement. And let me assure you all that your best bet is still Ghana. We can do it, and we should do it.
That was the finance minister. He was speaking at a meeting that was held for the AGI, and that's when he made that statement, about 2 weeks ago or so.
Yes.
Yeah. Gabriela?
Bella, who would endure aches and pains if you are making $150 million? Hey, who do more than endure aches and pains? Loratu, still, onto Nakawa, okay. Let me make some corrections in my earlier statement. I mentioned he released 3/4 for the MP Common Fund. Apparently, it's just 2.
Okay.
And I also found out that apparently he's not even paying the schools for extracurricular activities like sports and culture. So this year, there's no interco.
Wow.
And then I'm also hearing, through the grapevine, the word on the street is that we may not even get to host the All Africa Games because they don't have money for that one.
But we may not, so
even
we
though,
cannot necessarily tell
even though we built a stadium.
You can't substantiate it, but you are
I
putting it
support.
out.
Like
I
when you are
support.
talking, nobody talks. So
I
don't,
support Ghana
interrupt
sport.
it.
So
let's
I'm
continue.
really hoping that we'll get to host the All Africa Games. So if it doesn't happen, then it will be disappointing to me. But it is what it is. It adds up to the gross mismanagement of the economy. You want me to respond to that video?
You hadn't watched
what
it.
was your question to
you
me?
hadn't watched it, and so we're playing it because you were asking. I mean,
told you,
exactly what he said.
Anybody who has to endure aches and pains for $150 million, my dear, use your microphone to hit the street. People will do more than aches and pains for $150 million.
Okay.
Per 4 years.
Well, everybody's complaining about the high cost of living and having to cough out so much money to buy products on the market. The Agric Minister has been speaking. Yesterday, he spoke in Parliament, and he's saying that per the checks that his regional directors made, they realized that when you go to the farm gates, the food, produce are very affordable. Even if they are transported to the market, it's still very affordable. It is the market women and the traders who are rather taking advantage of the system to profit by giving it some very ridiculous price for people to buy. It has nothing to do with the high cost of fuel at the moment because they have checked and they've added that to the price of the food produced from the market. And it's nowhere near the prices that market women are selling on the market.
That's interesting. They picked it from the farm gate. According to their data, they picked it from the farm gate. But in the agri value chain, there's a whole list of partners that play roles within this. So at the farm gate, you have the aggregators who buy from the farms, and they buy in bulk, and then they sell to the market queens. Then the market queens sell to the other smaller retailers, and the small retailers end up selling it to us. So I don't think what they are saying is actually factual when you do the actual spectrum analysis that comes to the consumer. We don't benefit from farm gate prices. We benefit from aggregators, market queens, retailers, and then it comes to us. So if within these 3, from aggregators to market queens to retailers, the prices are going up, I think that it will still come back to transportation is one, because you are still transporting from aggregator to market queen. Market queen is going to transport to retail, and we'll pick from the market. So transport will still play a role in all these 3 segments. I also think that the cost of inputs is also a factor, because even at the planting for food and jobs, NPK fertilizer, 50 kg bag, was going for 180 Ghana cedis just a year ago. Today, under planting for food, it is 350 Ghana cedis. And that is not the only item on their list that has had astronomical increase in prices. So I don't think that what he's saying is factual. But that's the thing about the Agric Minister. He always ends up saying things that will always also have to come back and question what he's saying.
Koko, if there's time, can we play that video from the Agric Minister in Parliament yesterday, just briefly, so we can discuss that? We don't have much time, unfortunately, but we will. But Nanaya, I mean, that's what he's saying, that it is the traders. They are the ones who are, exaggerating the prices, because really, when you calculate transport fare plus the price of these food items from the farm gates to the market centers, it really is nowhere near what they're actually selling it for on the market.
You see, sometimes it's a bit interesting that blame is always shifted to traders. The president said profiteering. Now the minister is saying they are increasing prices. For instance, if you sell plantain what will be the benefit for you to, sell it at a higher price? Because it will get rotten at a point. If you sell tomatoes, what will be your interest to just increase the prices anyhow? Because it will get rotten. There are certain food items that when you increase the prices, which is not in tandem with reality, it's a waste of time. So truly, as Gabriela said, the process is adding to the price. And the biggest denominator in there are inputs and transport. Because as you transport these foods from wherever, you need to put it in a vehicle. Fuel is expensive. Certainly, the transporters will add it to cost. And when you are selling, you need to also add it to cost. So I don't know how they did their calculation. For instance, yesterday I heard somebody on one of the radio stations saying that in Pandai, yam, the ones that the minister said is 6 cedis, can be eaten by only 2 people. There are some small round yams like that. I think it's a new species, but they are like this.
Yeah.
Do you get me? So if 3 of them is 20 cedis. I went to a half when I was coming. I was intrigued by the size.
So you bought it in a half?
Yeah, on the way, yes.
Okay.
3 of them is 20 cedis.
But he says that it's about 6 cedis, and by the time it gets to the market, sometimes they sell it for a higher price.
No, but that one,
because people
that
are
one I bought 3
overpricing.
3 for 20 cedis because it's round, small. That is what the man said they are selling it for 6 cedis. When I was going to Kumasi on my way, I went by road because I can't afford to go by air. And the car stopped somewhere and they were selling. The bus stopped somewhere and they were selling. And 3 tubers of yam, big tubers, about 3 or 4, they said 150 Ghana cedis. It was unusual for me to hear that somewhere in Ashanti region, yam was selling for that.
How much more when it gets to Accra?
How much more when it gets to Accra, the transport and everything. Now, if you take the VIP, it's 100 cedis.
120 in some cases.
It's 120, but to Kumasi it's 100 cedis. It used to be 70, depending. Yes. So with this kind of transport cost, so they rent a car, they put the yam in, bring it to Kumasi, transport it all the way to Accra, from the north, from wherever. Certainly it will be expensive because I remember the president said they were going to get these big trucks that would go to the farm gate to bring transport food and bring it to the center. Yes, for the people to buy.
Now they say they'll bring it to the Ministry of Agriculture.
How many people
set up some kiosks and
used to
allow
be there.
people to come and
buy?
They
are just going back to the GFDC days. Do you get me? But who will pick a car? He doesn't know. Ghana Food. Okay,
I'm not 1990. Oh no.
Ghana Food Distribution Company. It was it is like today's buffer stock. But the buffer stock, it was started by Kwame Nkrumah and it traveled all the way to Rollins. And it was they used to put kiosks all over the place so you can buy.
Yeah.
Yes. So maybe that is what they still want to steal Nkrumah's ideas, but they don't want to acknowledge him. So the point is that if the government would also be part of the value chain, because, as long as it is in the hands of private people, sometimes when people say that profiteering, the private person only wants to make profits at the end of the day. That is their main, this thing. They want to make profit. So if I'm in a business, what do you expect me to do but to make profit? So how is government coming in to ensure that, this chain is broken? If truly the Agri Minister thinks that the prices are cheap and it is being, prices are being escalated. So what we believe is that then the government should come in, because we always say, we from the CPP always say that when it comes to in these interventions, it is government that has to lead it. Industrialization, government. Agriculture, government. If you leave it truly in the hands of the private sector, they are there to make money. So if truly they think that it is less expensive out there, for which I do not believe, because when I traveled, coming back, I also bought a basket of tomatoes for 50 cedis, very small basket, which was a bit unusual because normally you buy that for 15 cedis.
Yeah. Now that is 50 cedis.
That's 50 cedis.
So the bucket itself is how much?
The bucket is so expensive. I think he said 100 or something, the bucket. But this small basket was 50, but the bucket was 100 Ghana. And out of Accra, I was like, what is the meaning of this?
Let me let Lerato respond to this quickly, and then we will wrap up.
In one breath, we are not listening. In another breath, we are stealing ideas. I mean, it's difficult to reconcile that. But from what the Agric Minister said, I mean, it's not, we are all aware that prices generally in urban areas are higher than rural areas. I mean, we may have to interrogate the figures that the Agric Minister is putting out further. But it's general knowledge that things in Accra, especially, are generally more expensive than what you find. That's why most of us will travel and decide to buy things on the way. And fundamentally, fuel prices affect a lot of things that we do. I realize that it affects at different levels, because the person taking the yam from Mpaha to Bipe may not charge as much as the person taking the yam from Mpaha to Kumasi.
It's subject to the cost of transportation.
Exactly, you know, so we might have to interrogate these figures properly, especially when it's coming from the people on the ground. That's the regional directors of Agric. It may not be, usually when these are given at national level, they are given on the average. It may not be same in the various regions, but on the average. But I mean, exploitation is something that we can't rule out. People do it, and that's why we keep appealing that people who do those things should tone down on it.
Thank you so much. And Lerato Musasaka is a member of the NPP communications team. She's joined us this morning alongside Nanaya Achimpim Jantwa, the General Secretary of the CPP. And also Gabriela Tete is a member of the NDC communications team. And we'll be keeping our eyes glued to our TV sets just to find out what it's going to be like in Parliament today, especially because the minority is determined to move the motion for censorship against the finance minister. Will the majority MPs make an appearance in Parliament anytime today at all? Let's wait and see. Roland Walker is in Parliament, and he'll bring us to speed on what the happenings would be in Parliament. But quickly, before I go, of course, things are difficult, but if you're looking to relax and enjoy life just a little bit, and you don't intend to spend too much money, then Maha Beach Resort is a place for you, because if you spend money as well, you get an extra night for free. So stay for one night and get a second night for free in a standard room with free airport pickups on weekends, and it'll cost you just 4,200 Ghana cedis for 2 persons and 2,750 Ghana cedis for 1 person. And that includes meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Free airport pickup service from Friday to Sunday. Gabriel, why are you smiling? Terms and conditions apply. You get 10% discounts on spa services. Free upgrade from standard room to standard sea view room from Monday to Thursday, subject to availability. You can get to catch a movie at the cinema. You get to swim, play snooker, use the gym, play volleyball. And you can upgrade your room, but it's available upon request. Remember, terms and conditions apply, and it is for a fee. So please call them now, 050-157-0684 or 0303-977773. Call them to reserve or to ask for more details. Send them an email as well, sm@maharesort.com/reservations@maharesort. Anyway, so that's it. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining us this morning. And we'll be back with some more. This is TV3 New Day.